Hey everybody, thanks Jason. Yeah, my name's Peter. I founded a creative agency called Nice Touch, and yeah, today I'm gonna talk about building open source development, and it's kind of a theoretical conversation about empowering developers and how that can really jumpstart a blockchain or create utility. So get into it. So yeah, my background, I actually started my career as an engineer, as an electrical engineer, and kind of was building websites and stuff on the side, and ended up kind of moving more into the web world, and started working with Ripple and the XRP Ledger Foundation to build the learning portal. So that's kind of a sort of the beginning of the funnel to get people into the ledger and start building and developing. So the idea that I wanted to talk about today is sort of around this this thought that to create utility and mass adoption, giving developers resources and sharing code and open source projects is kind of a really powerful way to actually create liquidity and utilization of a blockchain. Kind of the idea here, I think a lot of people at this conference want to see, XRP value increase, more market cap, and more opportunities to trade and utilize the blockchain. So that's sort of the idea here. So, more consumers using XRP to buy things, more companies leveraging the blockchain to innovate, and more companies maybe accepting XRP as a form of payment every day. So, all right, so this is kind of a fun example. So breaking it down, this is like kind of a chicken or egg retail paradox. This is kind of a simple way to explain the idea. So if you have, say, you have a retailer that has a product that they want to sell, and you have a consumer, and we all want them to use the XRP ledger to sell or purchase. The problem, right, is the retailer, if they want to sell their product and want to use XRP, they need to incentivize the customer, right, to have XRP to purchase. And similarly, the customer has to, ask the retailer to accept XRP. So there isn't really a good way to incentivize either of them to start. One of them needs the other to accept in order to spend, and the other needs the purchaser to have XRP in order to spend. So it's really hard to kind of jumpstart this. And I think it's referred to, actually, someone was telling me today, it's referred to as the cold start problem, because to create that exchange and the liquidity, you need a reason to have the currency. So you don't have one if the retailer doesn't accept it, and if the consumer doesn't have it, you don't have a reason to accept it, so as a payment. So that's why developers are important. So this is, just kind of, these are also illustrations that are from the XRP Ledger learning portal that I helped create. So it's kind of a parallel there. So the idea here, right, is if you have a developer who decides, okay, I'm going to make a payment plugin, for example, that's open source, this retailer now can use this plugin to accept XRP as a form of payment on their store, and now they have no reason not to add that, right? If it's open source and it's free and it's available, they have no reason not to add that. So what that automatically does, it kind of jump starts this liquidity or this ability to utilize the ledger. And so this is like a very base level understanding, but it's kind of to illustrate this point that creating movement is what's the most important, and to jumpstart that, you need developers. So that's sort of where I think open source really comes into play. We have, so like my company's background, we do a lot of web development, we do a lot of React development. So one of the things I'm going to talk about is we built a React app library for the XRP Ledger, and the reason we decided to do that was, I mean, we're already using it, and it's very popular. And so once we created that library, it enables us to tap into this entire network of developers. And I think that's kind of the base concept of this talk, is this idea that a blockchain needs to embrace people who are not necessarily comfortable with blockchain technology. So developers who are coders, there's millions of developers out there who aren't comfortable with Web3, who don't know where to start. Maybe they're hesitant. And so it's not, engaging people who are passionate about Web3 and blockchain development that's easy, because we're all here. We want to have these conversations with each other. But I think there's a really important part, which is, educating people on a base level. And that's kind of this idea that open source is a critical way to do that. I'm a firm believer in doing everything I can open source so that other people can use it and collaborate and build. And I think the crypto space in general is very aligned with that idea. So that's sort of So this next little bit, I'm going to talk about the React library and the learning portal. But I think one of the things that I'm really fascinated with, so another part of sort of my work is brand development and communication. And as a developer, I started my career as a developer, and I found that there's a big challenge in communicating projects and I don't want to call it marketing, but the reality of trying to bring developers into a ledger or blockchain or a project. I think it can be challenging because generally speaking, developers are cynical or skeptical, and I think that's important. That's their job, right, is to sort of doubt and question. And so one of the things that I think we try to do with the learning portal, and I think in general in communication and sort of the brand experience, is actually, instead of speaking to people and telling them what to do or where to go, we invite them in to collaborate and work with us. And that's kind of the idea of open source, right? Is you're putting a project out there, you're giving it your best shot, and you're saying, hey, it's out there, put an issue on the GitHub, grab it yourself, start your own project, roll with it, and that really creates an opportunity for more growth and collaboration. So that takes us to the learning portal. This is a project that I've really poured my heart and soul into, definitely. I honestly didn't know a lot about the crypto space, and coming on to this project, I invested a bit in sort of the 2015 to 18 era, but wasn't really into the development side of it. And so getting this opportunity to work with Ripple and the XRP Ledger Foundation to build the learning portal was a really cool opportunity for me to dig into it. And I think one of the things that I'm learning that I'll kind of get into is how I think I underestimated how many developers are still resistant and skeptical of the Web3 space, and why it's really important to sort of navigate communicating in a way that's patient and inviting, instead of no, this is the future, trust me. It's more of a, hey, check this out. I'm working on this cool thing. Do you want to see it? Do you want to try it? Here's the code base. Check it out. So, the learning portal's been, I think, very successful in bringing new interested folk into the XRP Ledger world. And that's really the goal, is to try and kind of be the front of educating folks about blockchain and the ledger specifically. So this is sort of like a quick snapshot, but in 2023, 88,000 plus users, a bunch of courses and lessons completed. The one that I put a little asterisk here, 980 new Discord users. And the reason why I think that's important is creating authentic connection with a human, right? If you're a developer and you are working on something and it's hard and you're alone and you don't know where to go or who to talk to, it can be really isolating and challenging when you come across a problem. But if you have a friend or another human to chat with about your project and you get stuck, that is like the most important thing, especially if you're on the bleeding edge of new technology, right? Like that is kind of the next key step is community. And so I think this was sort of a big part of the Learning Portal goal, was to get actually people into the community, talking with others. That's what this whole conference is about, is like how many conversations are we all having with each other, and and will we have, because we met people here. So sort of a funny anecdote, but so my sort of lead React developer, Akshay, had not done anything in the crypto space or the Web3 space, and he's like the most brilliant JavaScript developer I've ever worked with, like insane genius level coder. And so we were talking, and I wanted to build this React library to help other web developers build on the Ledger, and because it's the biggest. It's the biggest, let's call it, if it's a market, if we want to bring developers in to build, React is probably the place you want to start. Like most students who are coming out of college and building web apps, they're learning React. So Akshay, I said, hey, you should check out all the course content on the Learning Portal, see if you'd be interested in helping me build this library for the Ledger. And he went through it, and then he got into it, and he actually like went through the Learning Portal stuff, and then went onto the XRPL.org, read all the docs, and built this library of hooks that kind of abstracts XRPL JS and makes it really quick to build like a front end. And yeah, it was kind of a cool experience to see this really brilliant developer who I kind of hold in this I used to be a developer. I still do a bit, but this person is just so much further beyond my level. And to give them this sort of basic training on blockchain technology, it was pretty cool to see him like get it and say, oh my God, I get it. Yeah, I'm going to treat, think of it like a server basically. And also super brilliant back-end developer. But he took it and ran with it and built this library. So yeah, kind of a cool example to sort of live myself. So another thing that we've been doing is another one of our devs, Chris, is super into 3D web and web gaming. And so he had been working with a coding collective, another React coding collective, to build 3D web apps. And so we kind of thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we used the React library we just built and built an open source 3D project to kind of weave them together and maybe make a 3D learning experience. So that's what we did. And we'll be at the Learning Portal booth in the room, so if you want to come check it out, we have it on a computer and you can play it. And all of this, kind of a very key part of all this, is all the code that we've built is fully open source and will be available. So if you're a developer and you want to build a 3D game, or you want to build a web app in React that works with the XRP Ledger, all this code is available to you for nothing. And it's, I think, part of the mentality that I want to, help perpetuate. So yeah, this game is just a kind of a cool, quick run through it. It runs on the testnet. The idea is it's a cool way to demonstrate reactive components. Reactive components are, you don't have to like refresh the web page. They instantly update whenever something on the ledger changes, so they're connected to your account, monitoring your balance. This is kind of like an overview of, this is a quick screenshot of the game experience. And this is like, so there's a terminal in the game that when you transact with NPCs, it actually, sends and receives XRP or currency or mint and burn NFTs or what have you. And all that's actually happening on the test net, and it updates in this cool front-end UI. But it's all in browser running as a web app. This is another quick screenshot. But yeah, I think the idea is to share as much as we can, and I think that will empower the community in a way that kind of will spread like wildfire. That's kind of the point. And yeah, developers being kind of the crux of innovation, and yeah, that the sort of that retail paradox, I think, is a really astute example of like how a developer, if they are able to solve a problem and they have the tools and the resources that they need, then sort of people selling things and people buying things, which is the simplest form of a transaction, are able to leverage that, and we have more flow and more value and more mass adoption. So yeah, that's kind of that's the end of the talk, and I did wanted to leave a good amount of time for Q&A. Sort of selfishly, there are a lot of people here, I think, probably that are involved with projects on the Ledger, and the Learning Portal to me is a really important way to prepare the new class of XRPL developers for working in the blockchain. And it's also an opportunity for us to maybe share what people are doing with their projects. And so this is, I think, an opportunity if people have thoughts, questions, ideas. I think one thing is I'd like to ask, are there things that you'd like to see if you're running a project on the XRP Ledger? Are there things you'd like to see the Learning Portal do and represent and teach so that people are prepared? And then similarly, if you're working on a project and you think it's worth sharing and inspiring people to take that journey and learn, want to find other opportunities to share that. So yeah, are there any questions or thoughts, or if you guys have questions about React or 3D web development or anything like that?
What was a key point that you wanted to make sure was included in the Learning Portal to educate more Web 2 to join Web 3 and kind of make that learning process for them a little bit easier? Because you were saying it's definitely hard to get them to want to come over. What's a key point that you wanted to include, and maybe what conversations do you have with those types of developers that would make it a little bit more incentivizing and trustworthy for them to want to come over to Web 3?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think we try to make it friendly and welcoming and fun, and I think trying to find the balance between not making it too so lighthearted that it feels silly, but make it approachable and easy enough that people wouldn't feel too challenged to kind of get through it and get the basics. Because I think that's the idea. You want to remove enough friction that conversations start, and then people can kind of go down the road, and once they have that base level so that they can have a conversation, then going to the Discord or meeting someone becomes a lot easier. So yeah, I think it was about the tone and the look, and also the UX and making it really easy to navigate and get through. Yeah, thanks.
So for the React library, I'm wondering, do you also support React Native? I mean, at the mobile level?
Yeah, good question. So it isn't a React Native library, but it can be, I think, very easily ported over. So you can use it, and I'm trying to remember the tool that you can use to port it. There's a simple converter that works, and I believe it does work for React Native. You do have to convert the tool over. Sorry, it's hard to see you. But yeah, it should work for React Native.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else?
How many React developers are here? One?
One? Wow, okay.
Well,
Nice.
it's kind of like Lego for developers. So components, right?
Yeah, totally.
You provide components built in React, and the developer can take that component like a piece of Lego and build bigger things with it. So you've basically essentially added the crypto Lego blocks to, I guess, our Lego kit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's the idea is to make it as easy as possible to kind of get through the front end part of building an app, and yeah, it makes it, you don't have to worry as much. It was actually in, I think Brad and David both mentioned it in their talks, but kind of removing the barriers. If people don't need to know what's going on and it does the thing it's supposed to do, that's success. And I think React is a good example of that, where you're creating components that abstract away some of the complexities. Sometimes it's important to know the complexities, and but in general, I think yeah, Legos is a good analogy for sure.
You have to know what is a private key.
Right.
It's very important.
Right. You have to know what your private. Yeah.
And what it is, and that you should not share it.
Yes, that's true too.
Very important.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's another good point. He was saying you have to know sort of the history or know the idea that what your private key is and that you shouldn't share it. And again, that's like one of the foundational elements of the Learning Portal, is educating people on these basics so that when they're entering the space and they're a developer, they know what to do, what not to do, and how to help make an app that doesn't lose everyone's money.
It can be simplified beyond that. That's the basic.
Yes. Yep.
I actually had a question about the 3D game that you made.
Yeah.
You said that it's open source.
Yes.
Is that with like Unity? Like what software do I need to modify this game?
Good question. So this game is built in React and 3JS. There's a library called React 3 Fiber. It's maintained by a group called Poimandris, and actually they're doing a talk at the React conference, which is in Amsterdam next week. But this game is built on a new game engine that our team developed in collaboration with a few developers across the world called React 3 Play. It is the first game engine made for React, and it's going to be released this year, fully open source. So you don't need Unity, you don't need anything like that. It's all just purely React and TypeScript. And yeah, definitely looking for collaborators and to build on it if desired. So thanks.